stuff that I read is the idea of outcome. Outcome. Great leaders, successful people focus on outcome, not activities, right? The mass, a lot of people, they have their to-do list. I used to be one of those people. Once I finished reading this research about the power of having outcome instead of activity, I ditched my to-do list. And you should too. Because here's the thing, activities change, outcomes do not change. For example, if your goal, let's say your goal is to get Johnny, you want to call Johnny your business partner and make sure that he has the conference room ready for your business presentation or your business meeting next week, right? And Johnny's not in the office. Johnny won't be in the office until whenever. I know the only way that you can reach Johnny is by calling him on phone or by coincidentally meeting Johnny anywhere, right? So when you put down this stuff that you want to get done on your list, instead of putting down calling Johnny, call Johnny. Instead, put on your list your outcome. What do you want to get when you call Johnny? Like, I want to I want to make sure that Johnny gets this conference room ready. That's your outcome, to get the conference room ready. Because guess what? When your brain starts thinking outcome, there are different ways that you could get Johnny, that you could make sure that Johnny gets this conference room ready. You could ask someone to help you pass along the message, someone who knows Johnny. You could, drop in and walk into a Walmart and then find Johnny, and you can pass along the message. But when your brain thinks in terms of activity, call Johnny. When you put on your calendar, call Johnny. You're only thinking of calling Johnny, but you don't know really why you want to call Johnny. Now, this might work sometimes, but for certain, when you write down your outcome instead of writing down the activity, you will find out the power of this clarity method, the power of focusing on results instead of activity. Take, for example, the old method that were used in the olden days. These methods, once they are set to a target, they don't deviate once their target deviate. Once the target move, they just move straight to the place that they were initially launched to. But the modern methods, then they're not like that. How are they? If the target changes, once you lock the target, it changes with it, right? If the target moves, it moves. That's how you should be. That's why your activities change, but your outcomes don't. When you have your goal in place, there's a million ways to get there. So this is the number one key when it comes to productivity. If you want to be productive, you have to focus on outcomes and not activities. The second thing that you want to think about when considering the idea of productivity is make a priority list, right? So when you write down everything that you want to accomplish, I think there is two or three of those lists that are so important, very critically important, and makes a great difference than the whole list combined. I was it when Dyer or Brian Tracy who said there is enough time for you to do the most valuable things that you have to do, but there is not enough time for you to do all there is to do. And gosh, this is it. If you could get this point, if I can get this point across to you, if you can understand this, understand the majors and minors, as Jim Rohn puts the majors and minors. Jim Rohn said people are always behind the curve constantly because they major in minor things. Are you majoring in minor things? Are you taking too much time to do things that doesn't really matter? That's why you cannot be a lot more productive. For you to be productive, you have to focus on those small little things that makes the big major difference, right? If you a business executive, you have a lot of tasks to delegate to other people. Focus on those things that you are good at, those things that you make the most difference at. And then with any spare time that you have, you can then give it to the trivials. For a regular person who is a student, when you're a student, your classes, your assignments, these are priorities. These are things that you should spend a lot of time doing. Everything else is second best to this. Spend a little time doing those things and more time doing this thing, which is your school, your assignment, and your career. Gosh, when I started realizing this, it was such an eye opener for me because I was activity oriented and not result oriented. And as I have said severally in throughout this video, you have to be you have to be result oriented. Excuse me, right? You have to be very very result oriented. Another example could be at work, right? Two people work for the same company, but one gets paid twice as much. What is the difference? These two people work the same hours, but one gets paid twice as much. The difference is value. So you don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for what you bring to the hour. So the difference is value. The big difference is value. So what are you bringing to the hour? Some people make $11 an hour, while others make $50 an hour. How does that happen? What is the difference? The difference is value. How can you create value? It takes time to create value, but you don't get paid for the time, you get paid for the value. That's why you should focus on those things that make big difference so that you can build your value on them and thereby maximize your efforts in those things that you are good at. So we've made several illustrations on how result oriented is the best way to go when it comes to productivity. Right. So great ideas, good ideas rarely just interrupts you, right? I was listening to a podcast where Gary Vee was interviewing Jesse Itzler, who is a serial entrepreneur, and he said you have to place yourself in a position where luck can find you. You have to place yourself in a position where you can be lucky, and the only way that you can be lucky, the only way that you can become lucky is by preparing. And how do you prepare? You prepare by doing research. You prepare by putting yourself out there. You prepare by putting yourself in right places, putting yourself in places that you know that you want to maximize your efforts in. And then now, the final idea is massive action, right? Now we've covered this whole panorama of focusing on results instead of activity. Now the only thing remaining now is for you and me to go to work on these ideas, because these ideas is as bad as useful as a fart in a windstorm if you don't act on them. Massive action. Massive action is the key. Again, let's recap, right? For you to be a lot more productive, you have to focus on results, not activities. Second, list down everything that you want great outcomes. List down your the outcomes that you want from your activity. When you list them down, put them in their order of importance, and spend time doing those things that are major. Focus on the major. Because remember, there's enough time for you to do the valuable things, but there is not enough time for you to do all there is to be done. Okay? So this is two great ideas. This is two central points that I have discovered, and I'm already applying it, and I am getting excellent results. And I am sure that if you apply it, you will get excellent results too. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned. Always tune back in because I post inspirational videos and educational videos that could help you better your life, your career, and your relationships. Thank you and stay inspired.